the fight announcement, Khamzat Chimaev is going to be fighting Gilbert Burns on April 9th, right? Same pay-per-view that Volkanovski's fighting the Korean Zombie on. This is probably going to be your co-headliner. Undefeated, Chimaev coming off that dominant win over Li Jingliang. And Gilbert Burns, one of the top guys at welterweight, man. I mean, his most recent loss was Kamaru Usman, obviously, in the failed title challenge. But before that, his last loss was to, I think, Dan Hooker back in 2018. Yeah, man. I mean, Gilbert Burns is legit, right? And you know, obviously we've seen the knockout power from Chimaev. We've seen the wrestling prowess. The question is going to be, can you do this against a guy like Gilbert Burns, who's a seasoned veteran, one of the top 5 fighters, maybe top 5, maybe top 3 I don't know. He's really good, right? There's Usman, Covington, and then I think about Gilbert Burns as being right fucking there, man. Anyway, he's also a credentialed grappler. He's a grappling expert. I mean, he is a credentialed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, right? World champion Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. And if Chimaev can go out and run through Gilbert Burns, you're talking about a title fight immediately. No doubt. And Leon Edwards is probably going to be fucking pissed if he's not the next guy in line to fight Kamaru Usman. I don't know, because you got to think it's going to take the same amount of time for the UFC to put the fight between Chimaev and Usman together as it would at this point to put together the fight between Usman and Edwards. Like, why not see how this big welterweight announcement plays out, right? If Chimaev goes in and if he beats Gilbert Burns convincingly, I think no doubt he's going to hop Leon Edwards in the title picture, right? And I know Leon wants that fight, but your last win was over Nate Diaz. No offense, but it was a good fight for him to take. But you just got to look at the landscape of the division and where Gilbert Burns sits right now, and the fact that he's beaten Wonderboy Thompson, Woodley, Maya, Nelson. I mean, Gilbert Burns is legit. And like I said, the big question for everybody is is Chimaev just getting these favorable wrestling matchups? Like, yes, he knocked out Mearshart, and Mearshart's like a pretty good grappler, so you didn't really get to see it on display there. But Li Jingliang, more of like you were going to see if he gave him problems on the feet because you know Jingliang's dangerous. The Leech is like a bad motherfucker. Chimaev blows through him, right? The question is, can he implement his style, his wrestling, his power against somebody who really is one of the best in the world? If he does, I'm telling you, if he beats Gilbert Burns, he's fighting for the title. If they don't announce a matchup between Usman and like Leon Edwards soon or something like that, because you got to look, Usman's basically cleaned out the division. I don't think Usman's very excited about the Leon Edwards fight. I think he's like, I'll take it. But Leon Edwards wants that title shot really bad, but Usman's already beat him, right? Usman's beat Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, he's Jorge Masvidal. He's wiped out all of the big draws in the division. Like I love Leon Edwards. I think that he is very good. I think a title fight between him and Usman at this point in Leon Edwards' career, I think it's a good fight, right? Like I do. It's nothing personal, but I just know that if Chimaev wins, there is going to be a lot of hype. And Usman is going to take the fight that makes him money. And Chimaev is the fight that's going to make him money, right? And at the end of the day, like, it is about proving that you're the best, and I think Usman will want to do that. And if Chimaev blows through Burns, or the and you got to realize what a bad motherfucker Gilbert Burns is for taking this fight too, because from his perspective, there's not a ton to gain. Khamzat's 11. You could easily deny this fight, let him slowly work up, fight a guy like Sean Brady next, and be like, all right, we're going to test the waters with a guy who we know can grapple, but's a little bit more green in the UFC. Both of these guys have had a few fights now. No. Gilbert Burns has a lot to lose here. He is ranked number 2 officially on the UFC's website in the division right now, guys. Leon Edwards is right behind him. You see what I mean about how this leapfrog's about to happen if Chimaev this is a dangerous fight. No doubt. A very dangerous fight for Gilbert Burns. But he has an opportunity to, and what'll happen if he wins, this is the problem with the dilemma he's in. Like, bad motherfucker for taking the fight. If he loses, Chimaev gets what he wants and gets to ascend to the top of the division immediately. But if Gilbert Burns wins, there's not a lot to be gained, because what people are going to end up saying is that Chimaev, like this hype, he should have fought, like what they'll say if Burns wins is he should have fought top 10 guys and then transitioned his way up slower, right? So really what Burns has an opportunity to do is kind of shut down the hype. But other than that, I don't think this fight necessarily gets him closer to a title. Like, I don't think if Gilbert Burns beats Chimaev, people are going to be as excited to watch Burns fight for... This fight is being made because of the excitement that it provides if Chimaev does win and his ability to challenge for the title. It's like, to me, this fight is like, you know, that's what it represents. But for Burns, there's not a ton to be gained, because I think that the narrative will be, if he wins, that they will shut down. Like, it's like, oh, just too much too soon. That's what seems to happen, right? So I don't know. It's an interesting position to be in for Gilbert Burns. It's a great fight. I'm super excited about it. And the thing is, like, yes, I respect what Sean Brady's doing right now with his grappling, but when you look at Chimaev, it's just fucking different. Like, there's a tenacity to it. It's extremely technical. Everything is tight. His shots are set up well with his hands. He's always got his opponent's hands moving up before he shoots. He's aggressive, but it's like, that's like when DC said he's going to start too fast against Adesanya. I was like, I don't know if there is. If you can maintain the pace, is there such a thing? Like, if he comes out and puts Adesanya on his back immediately, I don't think Adesanya is going to just like stick. He sets it's guys. He is incredibly professional for how young he is in his UFC career. It makes you excited to see what he's going to do when he starts running. You know what I mean? Like, as he starts progressing further and further. I don't know. Wrestling is just it's such a force. And I really feel like he matches up well against Usman's almost a more interesting, when people talk about this too, right? Like I know I'm kind of drifting off here, but when people talk about the matchup between Usman and Chimaev, I personally, and I think most people right now, they view that as more of a challenge for Chimaev than they do the fight against Adesanya. Because Chimaev's a big dude. He competed successfully at 185, knocked out Mearshart there. And I think they just look at it stylistically and think, he's not going to be able to stop Chimaev from taking him down. Adesanya's not going to be able to stop the like relentless takedowns in the pace. And I don't know, man. I kind of agree. See, like, I think Chimaev, there's like something special about him. I think he would actually find more success. He might have a harder time progressing up through the division at 185, but I think that he matches up very well against the champion. You just don't know what he looks like in a 5-round fight yet, because we haven't really seen it, right? That's the big question. But stylistically, yeah, I would favor Chimaev in a fight. Like, I think he has a better chance against Adesanya than I think he has against Usman, just because Usman has such a firm wrestling base. And Usman has just a straightforward boxing style. Like, he'll shut shit down with the jab and just keep it in your face the whole fight, right? He's got a chin. We've seen him get wobbled and stuff like that. Usman's very good. And wrestling chops to go with it, right? Whereas Adesanya, you feel like you can get him to the ground. And when Whitaker would get him to the ground, Adesanya would build back up, right? But if Chimaev gets you to the ground, are you going to be able to do that with someone like him on top of you? I don't know. That's why it's going to be important to see how, before we start looking at all that stuff, like, yes, it's exciting to think about, fun to talk about. That's why this matchup against Gilbert Burns is so important.